whole thing was one fatal tragedy where everybody involved had lost their life. Anika's parents and the guy who had hit them had all died on the scene. And excited Anika, waiting to see her parents and waiting to head to work, stood staring out the window with peaceful anticipation. Hearing her landline ringing from a distance, Ayana had brought her the phone. Hello? In a regular voice but straightforward. Is this Anika Levins? Yes, this is, she replied. This is Highland Hospital. We're calling to inform you that your parents have been in a really bad accident and that before they could even finish their sentence, Anika was headed to the hospital. When she arrived to the hospital, she was frantic and in tears. Trying to emotionally gather herself real quickly, Anika wiped her eyes as the doctors came out with the news that they were trying to tell her on the phone. They said, "We're very sorry, Mrs. Levins, but your parents didn't make it." Anika's heart felt like it had fell out of her chest as her knees had buckled, walking over to view the bodies. In a very high, emotional, and irrational rage, Anika tried to attack the doctors, yelling at the top of her lungs, "Bring them back, bring them back." Then another nurse came from behind, sticking her with a sedative needle. Anika was immediately escorted to a psychiatric unit. When Uncle Mason and Nefertiti had arrived to the hospital, they were extremely hurt and enraged. The kids who were still outside the room during all of this went home that night with Uncle Mason. Anika, who was expected to come home the next day, never did. Her situation, or her condition as they grew to call it, had gotten worse. Anika had made so many suicide attempts and attacks that she was sent to a psychiatric hospital. The kids were subject to go to a foster home or stay with Uncle Mason. Uncle Mason agreed to keep them. And as life would be, a part of Peace's mind was practically blank up until age 18. A now 18-year-old Peace, still smart beyond his time, feeling an emptiness so deep he can't ignore. Peace tried everything he could, but still couldn't quite figure it out. Then he thought back to where his dad had told him the meaning of his name: practical, efficient, achieving, composed, and equal. It was in that moment that felt like an epiphany. Peace had figured it out. He decided to go to school for psychology and sociology. It was then that Peace started learning about guys like Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, Emile Durkheim, and W.E.B. Du Bois. One particular quote that stuck out was from the psychologist Carl Jung. It read, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This famous quote by Carl Jung highlights that 95% of human behavior, emotions, and decisions are driven by hidden subconscious programming. Bringing these hidden patterns to light through self-awareness allows for personal growth and choice. After digesting this, Peace had wrote down every traumatic event that had happened to him from the earliest age he could remember. At age 9, his dad got locked up and sentenced to 9 to life. He watched his struggling mother do the best she could to keep grips and provide for the family. At age 10, his dad got sent to prison, missed his birthday, plus making him second in command over the house. At age 11, he lost his grandparents to a car accident, then his mom to a psych ward, on top of having to go and stay with his alcoholic uncle. At age 12, he realized that it was he who was taking care of his siblings. Using Uncle Mason's house was just to save them from foster homes and separation. At 13, he dealt with the ills of seeing other children have their parents around but not appreciate them as much. At 14, he started to feel a deep force of anger, though not really know its source. At 15, he started questioning himself on whether he fit into the world or not. At 16, he started feeling resentment. From his dad getting locked up, to mom struggling, to grandparents dying in an accident, he thought it was unfair. At 17, he went through a stage of rebellion, questioning his confidence and questioning society. He just knew something couldn't be right. At 18, he was feeling lost and just searching for himself. And that's when everything began to make sense.